Family, I have to be honest with you, and this is hard to hear. It was hard for me to hear at one point. But the skills that got you promoted may actually be the ones now that are holding you back. I know, stop the phone, but just rock with me for a minute. If you got promoted, you need to understand that one of the reasons you got promoted is because you were great at the work. You could produce, you could deliver, you could execute. You knew where some of the answers were buried inside the organization, all of those good things. The challenge is when we get promoted, we believe leadership is a bigger version of that. Listen, I'm James Rosseau, some call me Trig, and this is the Leader I Needed podcast. It's a show for people who got the title, but never got handed the tools. I spent more than 20 years inside of organizations. I grew up in Chase, then JP Morgan Chase doing the merger. I've led teams of 10, 40, a few hundred, and here are some of the things I learned along the way. Before I got promoted into leadership, it seemed like the game slowed down for me. I knew the systems. I knew where the answers lived. I knew how to score. And I bet you're saying the same thing. Yes, I knew the systems. I knew where to go. I knew the people. I knew how to score. But then you became a manager, and the game seemed to speed back up. The room is no longer 10 feet tall. It seems to have gotten taller, and it seems to move a bit. Just imagine that as LeBron James walked into pick your stadium, your favorite stadium, and the things he used to do, he can't because the rim is now moving back and forth and up and down. The game's no longer fair. He may not know how to deal with it. And that's you. You're now dealing with people, different pressure, personalities, ambiguity, deadlines, emotions, and expectations from everyone in every direction. But here's what I have for you. By the end of this episode, you'll be at a spot where you're leading from old instinct instead of new awareness. More importantly, you will know what to do about it. We're going to cover 3 things during this episode. First, why the game slowed down for you in the first place? Why did it become easier? Why did it seem like you could almost see the pitcher getting ready to throw the ball, and when they launched the ball, it was in slow motion coming towards you, and of course you could smack it out the park. But then second, why does it speed back up when you became responsible for people? We've got to go through that. And third, why this new game is won through your people, not by going around them or tolerating them. Let's jump right into this. Let's talk about why did the game slow down for you? Athletes say it all the time. It seems like the game slowed down. It seems like when they were running down the court, it was almost as if everybody stood still and they kept running. And you felt like that for some time. You didn't have to think about it. You just did it. That means you've done what some would say are the 10,000 reps. You've become extremely comfortable at it. You've done the film study, so to speak. You know the plays the next team is going to call. You know how your teammates are going to throw the pass to you, whether it's a bounce pass, side pass, around the back pass. You get all of that. This, though, was before you became a manager. You knew how to produce. You knew how to get things done. You knew how to solve problems. And that competence, all of those things, which are great, is probably why you got promoted. Like, we should continue to celebrate the fact that it got recognized, it got promoted. But now here is the trap. Your reward of the promotion was for mastering a game you already understood. Leadership is simply not the next level of that same game. It's not doing it faster. It's not doing it better. It's not adding a few tricks to it. Leadership is a totally different game. Think about it this way. As an individual contributor, your main job was to own output. Your main job was to score. You were on the floor, if we stay with the basketball metaphor. But now you're the coach or the general manager. As a leader, your job is now not only the output, but growth, the clarity, and the confidence of the players or the team, if you will. Those skills don't transfer automatically. You don't go from being a great shooting guard to a coach overnight. You have to learn some things. What got you noticed is not always what makes you effective now. Here is an action I want you to take this week. Write down 3 things that made you really successful as an individual contributor. Like, what do people know you for? Then ask yourself honestly, do those habits, do those skills help you lead people? Or do they push you to take over, control, and react? Are you trying to make people be a mini you? Are you trying to make people do it the way you would do it? Then ask one person on your team, be daring. What is one thing you need from me that you're not getting today? And after you ask it, don't defend it. Just listen. You'll learn something. Now, here's the second point I promised. The game speeds back up when conditions change. So similar to what I said about LeBron James, the game slows down for him. He can run, he can dunk, he can do amazing passes, he can shoot long shots. But now if he walked into the stadium and the basket rim was moving from side to side and up and down, even at a slight momentum, things have changed. That 10-foot rim goes to 11 feet. He's got to think differently about how he jumps to dunk. He's got to think differently about that three-point shot. If the rim's moving, the court even feels different. If he's over on the side of the court, how does he time it to get the shot down? See, everything's different. His talent didn't diminish, but the conditions changed, which means he can't simply use his old habits. And the same thing is happening for you right now in this moment. So your instincts will not be enough anymore. The way you used to walk around the hall, the way you used to go through the motion, so to speak. And that's not a bad term, not meant to be derogatory, but it just is. We get very used to habits. The brain loves habits, right? Frames of reference. The brain loves that, as well as should, because less decisions to make. You can just move. But now the game's changed. You can't move the same way. It just doesn't work the same way. So you have to move from unconscious competence back to conscious competence, meaning you have to think a bit more as you make decisions, as you take actions, as you figure out problems. The same solution set doesn't work. The same playbook doesn't work. The game has changed. And when you go from managing yourself to managing people, it is different. Like I went from me as a consultant to managing a team of 40. Now I've got to deal with a whole lot of different things. I've got to deal with different personalities, different geographics, different backgrounds, different motivations, different frustrations, different needs, all while managing pressure from my peers, pressure from above, and needs from below, organizationally speaking. There are plenty of days when the right answer is just not obvious. I had to learn that I could not outwork leadership. I had to actually lead. I couldn't work around people. If you have 40 people, how are you going to be an individual contributor and go do 40 jobs better than they can do? If you have an I'll just do it myself mentality, which made you dependable before as an individual contributor, you will be crushed under the weight of that. As a manager, that creates dependency. You become a bottleneck if you try to do that. If you're going to fix everyone's challenge and execution every time, you are the biggest bottleneck you could imagine. You'll be frustrated, you'll be tired, and you'll be on an unending treadmill run. As a leader, that will keep you from listening. As a leader, that will keep you from actually teaching and helping people grow. The old adage, give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach him how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime, fits so appropriately here. We got celebrated again because we did things well. Now leadership requires you to pause long enough to realize the rim has moved. This week, I want you to catch one moment where you feel yourself reacting fast. It could be a missed deadline. It could be a question someone asks that slightly irks you because you think they should know the answer. It could be a meeting where you feel pressure to have every answer. Before you respond, and I talked about this in the other one, Pause, pause. Ask yourself, what am I actually reacting to? What has changed now that I'm the leader and not just the doer? What does this moment really require from me? That's a very good question to ask yourself. What does this moment really require from me? That pause is not a hesitation, family. That pause is where leadership can begin because you asked the question that will lead you down the right path. Now, thirdly, let me bring this home. I said again, the new game is won through your people, not around them. When I joined Card Services, there was a person on my team. I'm going to call him Montel. At first, My read on him was negative. I have to admit that. Because a lot of times when he shared ideas, I felt like they always had a negative ending. We tried that before, it didn't work. We've already done that. That won't work here. Like, I would throw out ideas, and before I could really get around the table with the idea, he would crush them. Montel was draining my spirit. And because I'm solution oriented by nature, it just wore on me. That's my personality conflicting with his personality. And at some point, I probably, if I'm honest with myself, got a little dismissive. I didn't want to hear their feedback. I probably was a little less inclusive. I quietly had labeled this person. I kind of saw him as a negative guy, a drag on my team, the person who is slowing things down. But the reality is, because the work put us in proximity, we did road trips together, marketing sessions, partner meetings, I started to see something different over time. I started to pay attention a little differently. Montel wasn't negative. Montel was insightful. Maybe he expressed it in a way that initially I couldn't hear, but he understood the economics of the business. He understood how we acquired customers. He understood how we nurtured customers. He understood what our partners cared about. He understood what would actually make our unit work better together. What I interpreted as negativity was really history and wisdom playing out in front of me. He had been told no so many times that he kind of started protecting himself by shooting things down early and not letting them go upstream. To him, why go to that meeting just to be shot down in public, so to speak? When I started listening to him, pulling his insight into the room and treating him like he mattered, he changed. Or more accurately, I should say, he came back into play. All his knowledge, all his wisdom, all his experience, I was able to pull into that room. He went from someone I dreaded hearing from to someone I looked forward to meeting with, that I expected to be a part of creating a solution. He became one of the strongest players on the team. And he did not change because I managed him harder. He did not change because I jumped in on his work and tried to solve things. He changed because someone invested in him instead of dismissing him. So here's the shift. The person you are tempted to write off may not be the problem. They may actually be your biggest lever. As an individual contributor, when someone is not working, you route around them. See, that's a part of the individual contributor game. If you're running down the track, they're taking up space, run around them, get there. As a leader, the thing you're attempted to do, to route around them, is not correct. You can't route around people. That person has history. That person has capability. That person, while they may not be able to say it, wants to be on the team. They have reasons and such that you can't see from a distance. But here is where the S word comes in, stewardship. You don't own the chair. You hold it for a season. Your job is to lift up the people under your care while you're there for that season. See, the old individual contributor you might have said, how do I get this person out of the way? The new you, the steward you, the leading you says, what is going on here and what does this person need from me? This week, pick one person you have quietly written off, the negative one, the frustrating one, the one you already decided is dead weight. Be honest. We sometimes do that quickly as people. We decide someone is dead weight. Now treat that read as a hypothesis, not a fact. Get into proximity. Have a real conversation, not just a status check. Ask what they are working toward. Ask what they think is not working and why. Then do the hard part. Don't defend. Don't try to fix it quickly. Listen for the insight underneath what you may right now see as an attitude. You're not trying to solve them. You're investing in them. Fam, as I wrap up, let me say this to you. The skills that got you promoted won't help you the same way in this game. You just can't do more of them and be successful as a leader. Those were for the old game. You are now in a new game. This is no longer about what you can produce. It's about what you can build through people and with people. This week, pay attention to where your old instincts are showing up. What are you carrying over from prior days? Where are you moving too fast? Where are you dismissing someone too early? Because the leader you needed is not the person who simply had all the answers. The leader you needed was the person who saw people clearly. They invested in them intentionally. and they help them become more than they were when they arrive. That is the leader you're becoming, family. Until next time, be blessed.